All right, guys, we are listening to the entirety of this band. I don't know if you've heard of them. They go by the name of Symphony X.
This is for the big homie DJ the Wackator, as you can see up here.
DJ Wackator in this bitch. All right, guys, here we go. The next song is on the way. And
okay,
we're gonna.
Check
Is there an intro or anything like that? No.
Nope.
All right, guys, here we go. So this is the
Bird
Serpent
War and Cataclysm.
All right, 20, and then you got the timestamp there for the start time.
Yep.
All right, let's go. Guitarist, man. Love this guy.
No, I think that was good.
Yeah, that was perfect ending point.
Okay. I love the way they ended that too.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Okay, so this one's interesting because it seems like now we're kind of, because we were talking about, you know, balance before, and now it's almost like we've gone back to the devil's side. mocking the ways of justice, the serpent's dragon, vulture's ride, storming the gates of 7, which we talked about in numerology, 7 being like sort of like perfection or something.
7's a number of perfection because God, created the world in 7 days.
Mm-hmm. No mortal.
And so 7 became associated with God and perfection and completion.
They said, no mortal man shall break our stride. Our flames engulf your good works.
Wait, sorry. So Archero put 1375. Why did you do that? Is there some sort of sequence here that we're not getting? That's a serious question, Archero. All right, continue.
So then he says, our flames engulf your good works. I mean, like, these people are so bad that their flames are going out and taking up these people's good works, which is also interesting because there actually is that concept in the Bible of your good works. Because if your good works originate in yourself or by the intention of yourself, like, God is behind everything that's good. So even if you did something good, like, God was still the originator of it, but it depends on what you say in your own heart about what happened. And nobody can know, like, what's in the heart of somebody else. Like, for instance, there's a story in the Bible of this king, and he goes to, like, take out these other people. Actually, I believe it was the Israelites. Was he going after the Israelites?
I don't know who you're talking about.
The king of Assyria.
Okay.
God sent him to go do this because probably they had gone into idolatry, which typically was the way that would go. And then another, like, terror would fall on them, and then they would realize, like, what have we done? Like, we actually need God. So anyway, when they're in this situation, the king of Assyria is on his way over there. Now, God was using him, but in his heart, he's like, he doesn't care about God. Like, he's doing everything by his own strength and power. And that's like the rest of us. Like, whatever we do, like, if you're doing something because you're a good person, like, good, it's still good to do good. But when you recognize that the reason that you do good is because God is good and it's his goodness that allows you to be good, like, it changes the whole thing. So a lot of people think that you get to heaven by having your good works outweigh your bad. And so when he said that, it kind of made me think that our flames engulf your good works, because there's this sort of story or concept that when you stand before the Almighty, everything of value that you've ever had would be like around you, and then it's going to get tested by fire. And so the only things that are eternal are the things that originate with God or are godlike. So there's good deeds that you have that you relied on your own self and you didn't even recognize God in it. So then those are all going to burn, and everything's just going to, what do you have at the end of it? So that reminded me of that. But instead, this is the devil and his crew that are burning up their good works. Interesting concept.
Our flames engulf your good works, and our terror reigns supreme. Dark beasts that do my bidding by thrashing, tearing down your dreams. One of the things that's interesting about the concept of good works in a biblical perspective is that God is being presented as being the original worker. And then God clears everything that he does as good. God made the light, saw that it was good.
Except one thing he didn't say was good.
So then it says he saw that the light was good. And so it's like, what does that mean? As if goodness is sort of like this idea, like outside of God, and then like he created light, and he goes, you know what, that weird concept of goodness, light is like that, so light is good. Like that's how I thought about it as a kid.
Really?
Of course now, well, I mean, how did you interpret God saw the light and saw that it was good? How did you interpret that as a kid?
I looked at everything like kind of bigger than like detailed like that, and I was just like, I have like this really, like, I would like sing these like love songs to God and stuff. So for me, it was like, he made it, he said it was good, and I think it's good, and he's good, and everything. I was like, had this sort of happy-go-lucky relationship with just me and Jesus at a really early age. So I didn't dig down into that. It was just, I didn't even realize that one of the days what happened he didn't say was good.
Well, yeah, I was just kind of like, okay, he calls it good, so like, what does that mean? He's calling from, where is he getting this concept of good from? Blah, blah, blah. Of course, now the perspective is, well, goodness is whatever aligns with God's nature. And so when God saw light, there's something about the light that reminded him of himself. And as such, he goes, well, that's good then. Because from a biblical perspective, good and God are not separate ideas. So when a person is like a good person, they're called a godly person. When they're a bad person, they don't get called a bad person in the Bible. They're called ungodly. Like that's like goodness and God from a biblical worldview are literally ontologically the exact same thing. So when a person is being bad, we call them ungodly. And we know collectively we're saying that person is bad because they're not reflecting the nature and character of God.
Yeah, but when he separated the waters from above with the waters below, he didn't say that it was good. And I was always under the understanding that was because he saw to the future that, in the future, the flood was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see your point.
Well, you said that when he looks at something, he says it's good because he recognizes his own character or nature or something in it.
Yeah.
I mean, are you saying that judgment is not in the character?
Judgment is in his character, but it's not something he celebrates. The scripture says he doesn't delight in the death of the wicked. So he doesn't celebrate that. Right. He didn't call it bad either. Mm-hmm. But it's not something he's going to celebrate.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's
because God's reactions are all the same. He's one being and he's only had one emotion. To us, though, and that one emotion is love. But what we don't understand is that when love interfaces with certain things, the result, the phenomenology of what we're observing doesn't look initially like we would consider love. So when God is judging the world, that is because that's what happens when love interfaces with sin. When love interfaces with sin, the instinct of love is to stop whatever that thing is. Uh-huh. And so, so goodness then is simply when nature reflects the attributes of God, it's a good thing. So there's no distinction between goodness and godliness. And that's why Jesus said to the guy, there's nobody good but God. Mm-hmm. Because that's the idea. So, like, if
in other words, there's nobody that has those attributes but God. To that degree.
Well, nobody has that single attribute. Because, again, what we're calling good is God. That's what we're saying. We're anything that you call good in the world is some sort of reflection of something of God's nature. And so, like, in Jonathan Edwards, if you look at the vast majority of the material, I mean, he was a prolific writer, and they did a word count to see what he used most often. Oh. And the word he used most often was sweetness. He's talking about the sweetness of Christ or the sweetness of God or the sweetness of anything. So that when you have a chocolate bar and you get that little 2-second rush of, oh, this is sweet, you're supposed to think, oh, this is God giving me a metaphor, okay, for my taste buds in my tummy for what he is like. And so that's sex, candy, cake, music, metal, friendship, poetry. All those things are reflections of God's nature and things like that. And so that's why I think it takes an eternity for hell, just like it takes an eternity for heaven. Because in hell, you're losing the image of God, which is the ability to enjoy all of those categories of experience. You lose that. But because God is an eternal being, it's going to take you an eternity to lose the image of God. And so that's what makes hell hell. And that's why hell gets progressively worse. Because it's a society created by a bunch of people outside of the grace of God. Yeah. So what kind of music is going to be created in hell? What kind of movies are going to be made? That kind of thing. And that's why I say you can see it. You can see hell now. You can see hell now and you can see heaven now. I'm not saying that there isn't a specific sort of final judgment where people get consigned to that dimension in the universe or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is the people that are going to be in that kind of state of being in 5,000 years do not live good, happy, normal lives here. And then all of a sudden God's like, well, you missed a multiple choice test. So now I'm going to send you to this horrible place. No. All of us are either building heaven or building hell. We're either bringing down heaven or raising hell. That's it. Mm-hmm. And the people that are from that group are going to have those results in the world. And the people that are from the upstairs group are going to have those kinds of results in the world as well. Scorn the prophet's words, the device of our demise. Okay, so we've got some themes of balance, technology, spirituality, and how all these things come together.
I thought that was pretty cool because, again, we're still talking from the perception, I think, of the devil. Gather round chosen people of the grand design, scorn the prophet's words, the device of our demise, because he's saying, like, the prophet's words is their demise. Like, that's what ruins things for them. So he's, like, telling the chosen people, like, don't listen to the prophets.
Yeah, I'm not sure the device of our demise are the words of the prophets, or if the prophet is, because remember, they're talking about technology.
Mm-hmm.
If the prophet is bringing some sort of technology that's supposed to help them, when in reality it's gonna end up being the device of their demise.
Oh.
It
whatever
depends.
The technology is.
Because some technologists do end up being like religious figures, like what's his face, Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Like I was associated with that company when he was dying and died, and it was extremely religious. Like the way people talked about dude, and the way and obviously when people are dying, everybody gets religious when they're dying. I'm not talking about like people getting religious in light of Steve Jobs' impending death. I'm talking about him as a person, especially in that little world, man. He was absolutely like a religious figure for sure. So yeah, definitely people that come with new technology, because think about it, there's not really much difference between a divine power and technology.
Yeah.
As I said, like if you'd have told somebody 700 years ago, listen, I'm going to be able to tell you exactly what this person said from 10,000 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
You did it over a phone. People would think that you had some sort of divine power.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So the confluence between technology and religion, I think, is really interesting and doesn't get explored a lot. What did you give the song?
Oh, jeez. I think I'm going to give this one an 8.9.
I'm going to give this one an 8.5. This is a very intriguing band. 8.5, dear listener.
So at the end of that one, it said the preservation of balance was utmost importance, and cast into the sea was the child Mat, to find a new land, riding on the breath of Poseidon.
So when it talked about this girl or whatever, maybe they're talking about Ma'at, because Ma'at is she's a
right here.
Feminine. She's a god. She's a goddess.
I lost her.
in Kemetic religion.
Of like
so
truth and justice and all that.
yeah. So the preservation of balance was utmost importance. Cast into the sea was the child Ma'at to find a new land, riding on the breath of Poseidon. Okay. So the next song we're listening to is called "The Breath
Can
of."
you do Ask Me Anything or a commercial or something?
We'll do a commercial break, and then we'll come back on the other side of the break. We are continuing our breakdown of
Symphony
X.
We'll be right back.
25, 26. We shall return.